Okay, SPOT,
SPOT stands for
San Pedro
Ocean,
Time series.
the San Pedro Ocean Time Series Project.
started back in 1998 by Dr. Tony Michaels, who came from Bermuda Biological Station, one of the oldest and best run oceanographic time series projects in the world. And so when he came here to Wrigley Institute for Environmental Studies, he wanted to do something similar but on a much smaller scale.
For the San Pedro Ocean Time Series project, we go out on monthly cruises. We take repeated measurements of the physical, chemical, and biological properties of the marine system between Los Angeles Harbor and Catalina Island.
Well, time series studies give you a context. Capturing an instantaneous point doesn't really tell you very well how things are working. Whereas if you watch things as they evolve over time, it's more like seeing a moving picture.
We realize that global climate is changing, and the models that are used to predict change in the ocean are very limited. And so time series measurements in the ocean are very informative in that they allow us to actually see what change has taken place.
And having that baseline data and being able to look at it over time not only allows us to understand the present environment, but to predict how our environment might look in the future.
There are real challenges when it comes to continuing a time series.
Typically, we leave at 0700. We're back to the dock by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon or so. So it's a fairly long day, but also while you're out there, some people get seasick. I don't.
I've had students go out and their intention was to go out to help collect samples and collect data, but they end up puking over the side of the boat for the whole day. So we use an instrument called a CTD. It stands for conductivity, temperature, and depth, and those are the parameters that are measured continuously down the water column.
And we send it down just a little bit off the bottom, so we get a real-time profile from the computer and all the sensors on the CTD package. Whenever you do in science what we call field work, particularly in the ocean, you're dealing with Mother Nature, and when you're putting electronics into water, let alone salt water, and especially when you're sending it down quite deep, the pressures are greater.
Sometimes the equipment fails.
So what just happened?
We lost communication with the CTD.
Lost communication.
Once you have an electrical short, you lose communication.
That's also another reality that we have to face. So I wouldn't say it's an easy endeavor, but it's absolutely a critical one. One of the best spot cruises that I've been on, we had a pretty long day, turned the boat around, ready to head back to Los Angeles Harbor, and right in front of us,
There were maybe at least half a dozen humpback whales that were breaching, and they kept breaching quite regularly over the course of an hour or so.
so that was pretty spectacular. It really takes a community of scientists to make a time series program successful. It's a very multidisciplinary initiative.
Our laboratory will focus on the viruses and the bacteria and the archaea.
Phytoplankton and protozoa, small single-celled organisms.
People from Wrigley measure nutrients.
We have chemists, we have biologists, we have physical oceanographers, we have mathematicians, we have modelers.
All of those things are valuable because they add to this big body of knowledge about one place that we're understanding really well.
Most of the time series stations throughout the world are true open ocean stations.
We have a location that is very interesting because it is coastal, so we have regular access to it. It has some oceanic water quality, so it gives us some indication of what the eastern North Pacific is doing.
It's also near a large urban area, and there's some element of, well, is there any effect of the city being nearby that we can discern? And that's a very good question.
So we have an immense amount of data now that's been generated from the SPOT project. And we're very eager to share this with the general public and the scientific community.
Onto a database that can be accessed by anybody in the world to use however they want to.
Hopefully, as the data set becomes available, as more people look for the data set and use the data set, with that demand will come some more resources and hopefully we can augment what we do now with more measurements.
Most of the other time series around the world are government supported, whereas SPOT has been supported by Wrigley, and most of it has been private funds.
You never quite know what discoveries you can make unless you go out there and routinely measure. There could be a wealth of information that people can get from this database.